story, the Ashwood Circle. There is a place in the northern woods that the locals don't speak of after dark. They call it Ashwood, though no map marks it by name. My uncle swore the story was true, and when he told it, the firelight always seemed to shrink, like even the flames knew to keep their distance. He said it was the summer of 1987 when he and 3 friends decided to camp deep into the woods, farther than the trails and markers went. They were restless college boys, armed with cheap whiskey, a couple of tents, and the bravado of youth. One of them, Mark, claimed he knew a spot hidden beyond the ridges where no ranger or hiker ever wandered. They walked for hours under heavy trees until the forest thinned and spat them into a clearing. At the very center of it lay a circle 20 feet across, perfectly round, black as coal. Nothing grew within it, not a blade of grass or a weed. The soil was dark and loose, the kind you'd swear had just cooled from flame. Though when they knelt and pressed their hands to it, it was cold. Cold in a way Earth should never be. They laughed at first, called it the devil's campfire, and joked about Satan's crop circle. They pitched their tents a safe distance away and built their own fire just beyond the ring, as if daring it to compete. The whiskey made the night louder, and soon the jokes turned into dares. Mark was the first to step into the circle. He stood there, arms wide, as if presenting himself to the dark, and shouted, "If you want me, come take me." The others laughed and hollered back, but my uncle felt his stomach twist, like the joke had gone too far. The night deepened. Their fire burned lower, and the forest grew to quiet. No crickets, no owls, nothing but the pop of wood and the sound of their own breathing. My uncle swore the silence had a weight, as if the trees themselves were listening. He thought he saw movement in the circle, the way heat shimmers on asphalt. He blinked and it was gone, but the feeling lingered. One by one they drifted to their tents, until only my uncle remained awake, watching embers collapse into ash. That's when he heard it, a low hum, not from any throat, but from the ground itself, thrumming through the soil like the beat of a buried heart. It came from the circle. He leaned closer, holding his breath, and saw the black earth shift. Not much, just a ripple, as though something vast beneath had stirred. He scrambled back, but none of his friends stirred. The humming grew louder, pulling at his own heartbeat until he felt it sinking, his chest pounding in rhythm with that hidden thrum. Then the whisper came, not through air but inside his skull, a wordless murmur, hungry and ancient, a voice that wasn't a voice at all. He didn't understand the words if they were words, but the meaning burned clear enough. "Awake." He shouted for his friends, but his voice sounded small, swallowed by the trees. Mark stumbled out of his tent, groggy and annoyed, until his eyes fixed on the circle. The soil inside had begun to seethe, folding in on itself, black grains swirling like water down a drain. And in the shifting earth eyes opened, not 2, not 10, but countless pale orbs blinking upward, reflecting firelight that wasn't there. Mark staggered back, but the circle pulled at him. My uncle said it wasn't like being dragged by hands or ropes, it was the weight of gravity itself bending wrong, pulling Mark's body toward the center. He screamed, but his feet slid across the soil as though the world itself had tilted. The others woke in confusion, then terror, as Mark collapsed into the circle. The ground swallowed him whole. There was no blood, no tearing, just the earth rippling shut, leaving the circle smooth and bare as if he had never existed. My uncle swore the trees leaned closer then, every branch straining toward the clearing. The hum became a roar, his skull rattling with pressure, his heart slamming so hard he thought it would burst. His friends bolted into the woods and he followed, stumbling blind through branches and brambles. They ran until their lungs burned, until the hum faded and the silence of the forest returned. When dawn broke, they found themselves miles from the clearing, their clothes torn, their skins streaked with cuts. Mark was gone. They staggered back to town, but when they told the sheriff, he only shook his head. Said kids had been disappearing in those woods for generations, that the forest gave and the forest took, and some places weren't meant for people. They searched for days. No trace of Mark was ever found. The circle was gone too, or at least hidden again, buried under moss and root. But my uncle said he still felt it when he closed his eyes, the pull, the hum, the whisper. He swore that sometimes, when he was alone, he heard his friend's voice calling faintly, not from above or below, but from inside his own chest. And he warned me, the last time he told it, that Ashwood was still out there. "The circle moves," he said. "It appears where it pleases, a mouth in the earth waiting to be fed. Maybe it's not just one circle. Maybe the whole forest is hollow, and the soil we walk is only a skin stretched thin over something vast, something old, something still awake." He leaned in close when he finished, the firelight flickering across his face, and whispered, "The ground remembers. And one day, it remembers you."